So I'm really excited about this Twitter Spaces. I guess just waiting to see if everybody's here yet. Just waiting on Aissa. Um, how are y'all doing?
Doing good.
All good here.
Good to hear. What time is it where y'all are?
1 a.m. and wrong.
Oh, wow. Uh, Amazing. I think that we have everybody here now. So I'm really excited about this Twitter Spaces. All of you are such interdisciplinary artists working in different mediums, and I thought that it was really interesting that you all were sort of utilizing the manifold smart contracts to share your work. So I'm really glad to be able to have all of you on stage speaking with us. I thought that I would start off this spaces just to say that this is meant to be conversational. If another artist is saying something that you think is interesting that you want to respond to, like, please questions. But I thought that I would start off by just doing introductions. I was thinking each person could go around and say their name, their pronouns, and if you're comfortable with sharing this information, where you're calling in from. And just because I like to start off these conversations with a fun question, if there's any, when you're making artwork, if there's any music you like to listen to, which I know is many questions for an introduction, but let's try it. So I'll go first. My name is Vivian. I'm calling from Los Angeles. My pronouns are she, her, and I've been listening to a playlist of brown noise because it makes me feel relaxed. Um, Rich, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Rich. My pronouns are he, him. I'm calling from the UK, and I really, really enjoy listening to ambient electronic music when I'm creating art. Things like Brian Eno and stuff like that, although I am really interested by brown noise.
Yeah, brown noise is great. I highly recommend it.
I've never actually listened to anything in that category, so yeah, you piqued my interest with that.
It feels like I'm on like a rock in outer space, and I feel very at peace. Uh, Igor, is that how you say your name? How about you go next?
Yeah, Igor here, everybody. Hello. Uh, I am he, him, sir, dude, whatever. Related to male. Calling from Jakarta, Indonesia. 1 a.m. in the morning. And yeah, nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much for staying up late to talk to us. Is there any
Uh,
music you were listening to help you stay awake so late?
uh, um, maybe I'm listening to Ghost now.
Okay,
Before,
cool.
I mean, like before. Mm.
Nice.
Mhm.
Uh, Rollin, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name is Rollin. He, him are my pronouns, and I am in Wisconsin right now on a lake. I just saw a cormorant fly by, and I counted like 50 seagulls, and like maybe 100 pelicans. So there must be a lot of fish. Yeah. Oh,
Nice.
music I listen to is nothing because I have to be super focused.
Nice.
It's awful, and any distraction is bad. So complete silence or a fan, super
Hmm.
boring.
I feel like you learn a lot about people based on like what they need in order to make work. I don't know if this is true, but somebody told me that you produce music for pieces that you make.
I have, yeah, out of I've mostly collaborated with
Mm.
real musicians, but I've constructed some stuff by like slapping my face or playing with water and collecting Foley. But Yeah, I'm not a musician though.
Okay. I'm glad that I asked it now instead of during the process questions.
It's fine.
Aissa, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks. I'm Aissa Santiso. I'm Cuban, but living in Spain. Now it is 8 of night, so just I'm relaxing here on my couch, listen all of you and sharing here with everyone. Yeah, pronoun is she, her. And this kind of music I like. Well, I like any kind of music except reggaeton. I can stand hearing that kind of rhythm. So, but mostly I love more rock from the 19s and 2000. Well, 1980s, more or less over there, and electronic.
Nice. Yeah, I know that I'm always curious about how artists what their work processes are like, and I always find it inspiring just to hear like I love knowing about just like the routines of artists and what helps them feel sort of set up to make art. Um, but yeah, I think it could be interesting to this is me assuming a lot about your respective art practices, so please feel free to correct me, but all of your artwork seems so expansive. It seems to sort of cover so many different mediums, ranging from like 3D poems and like visual art and pulling inspiration from so many different places. And uh, something that I think about with regards to art within Web3 is that it sort of opens up space for artists who are maybe making works that are not like a single medium. And I'm curious about how each of you maybe got into the NFT space. If there's somebody wants to kick it off, or else I can keep calling on people. Rich, there we go.
There we go.
You start.
Yeah, more than happy to. So I have been a graphic designer and worked in the creative industry for about a decade now. And it was last year that I stumbled into NFTs through the Boys project by Lorona. I saw it in my Instagram feed and I was just immediately hooked on the visuals and the aesthetic. And I think this was about February 2021. And yeah, just from there I was hooked. And I've always created stuff in the background and done things for myself, but never really shared it a lot. Purely because I just didn't think it was worth sharing. I'll be honest, I had low confidence at the time. And yeah, kind of saw a couple of Instagram posts, started hearing this phrase NFT being thrown around and reading articles about it and everything. And yeah, just kind of dived straight into reading about the technology and understanding what it was. And then, yeah, started going through archives and pulling out pieces of art and everything. And yeah, did my first mint in March, I think. And yeah, I've never looked back.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because your work, Rich, you seem to be doing work that's like digital paintings in some collections, and then other collections you have kind of like more graphic design inspired. And I think I'm just like curious about how you separate your works by utilizing different collections. Maybe actually, I'll hold on to that thought, and then I'll let other people go first because I would love to hear about other people's entry points to NFTs and how you found yourself here.
Cool.
I'll call on somebody. Aissa, there you go.
Well, it's very curious because I entered the NFT mostly in foundations. When last year, some artisan friends told me about NFT and all the things happens in digital world. Say, hi, I remember you has been working with digital art some times ago. So this is something happening. I say, okay, fantastic. I have an invite on foundation. I will send it to you. I'll say, okay, great. I began to experiment. So yeah, mostly my introduction was with you guys. The things I love from the space is the huge diversity it has. So it's a huge I can say a space in which you can reach different fields, people coming from different parts, that it's not don't have always your point of view. That's pretty enlightenment. Actually, for me, I came from visual arts, studied in academy and then contemporary for 8 years, I guess. And yeah, always I was related with the people of my field, and sometimes get a little boring. So just began to interact with others and made other works out of my space of comfort, introducing in more collaborative works in some labs or making something in computer, maybe working with some people who like to make music to create sound that has another perception of collaboration. And then just people told me about this space and in the NFT, and I get pretty after try some weeks and some months and see the community and the different tools and elements in terms of concept and in terms of forms that you can experiment and you can actually, I don't know, make in collaboration, not just with artists, also with some developers in this space that depends of of the needs of some artists or some people that are creating, making different artistic practice here. They need sometimes those ideas to create the tools for us to just explore and to expand more this. So.
Yeah, I think something that always struck me about the NFT space is just like how much it unlocks, and people seem to more freely collaborate with each other. And I think with tooling that, makes it easier to, share the profits of sales with your collaborators using something like splits is really amazing. Igor, do you want to go next? How did you find your
Yes, yes, yes,
yeah.
yes, 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 yes. Okay. I joined this NFT space last year, April 2021, and yeah, enjoying so much here in NFT space because maybe here I can call myself an artist. This is the only place I can call myself as an artist, because in real life, before I never joined like the formal art education. I like drawing, but just I draw whatever I want to do and just draw it in real life. And here in NFT space with this technology, I can like store my work like maybe forever in the blockchain. And yes, and I'm happy here because I can now meet another artist. I'm from Indonesia. Actually, there are some big name in Indonesia as a digital or maybe illustration artist or illustrator, and because of the NFT space, I now can make friend with them. I'm happy with that. Mhm. That's for me.
I'm glad to hear that. Rollin, do you want to go next?
Sure.
What's your
Well, my background, I guess, is net art from 2011, and seemed like all of those people migrated pretty quickly. So friends like Yoshi Sodioka and Andrew Benson were super encouraging, trying to get me to use this, and got my start on Foundation. So I put my first things here, and then I've gotten a lot of help and encouragement from plenty of friends and artists, Sarah Zucker particularly, and yeah, I just find it a really connected, friendly place. It's been very nice.
this is maybe like a side, but I'm curious how you feel the NFT space might differ from more like traditional art spaces, because I know you have sort of exhibited and shown in more like traditional art spaces. I'm curious how you feel like that compares, and whether or not the NFT space allows you to like do or exhibit things that maybe you weren't able to prior.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I can show whatever I want in real life, but I think the way a collection is structured is extremely unique with NFTs. Like, people approach the work and they see a whole group of things rather than, there being mediation by a curator or by the limits of a space. So I can just show everything all at once, and that gives it kind of more internal logic and more of its own context. So, I mean, what's really special to me is the traits, being able to surface all the attributes in an organized way. Because I've always had like a huge amount of structure to my work, but it's not really visible in an exhibition how the work is interrelated. You only kind of get into that once you are like looking at a PDF or a catalog, but here it's just very public and accessible and super well organized just because of the innate structure.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned traits, and part of the reason why we've all gathered here today is because, I'm interested in the way that I'm interested in all of your artworks, but also how all of you are sort of utilizing the creator tools of Manifold. And I am just curious to hear y'all's experiences and thought processes around utilizing those tools. I don't know if y'all have thoughts you want to share about that, or I could be scary and directly ask individuals.
You're not scary. You're very nice. I mean, for mine, I've treated it like a taxonomy. I've treated it like organisms. Like, when you go out into the wild, you are collecting bugs, and you see, similar striations or colors or sizes, and I've done that with myself. And I've actually kept spreadsheets about old artworks and their traits, and I've never surfaced that. So it was really fun for me to actually make it a part of the work that people could experience instead of just being a useful tool for myself to keep track of.
Yeah, I had never thought of like attributes as, I don't know, like a version of spreadsheet like art type stuff. But now that you say that, that is a comparison that makes a lot of sense. I'm also curious about how you went about labeling the traits in your pieces. And I'm also just curious to hear more about your practice and maybe some of the things that you're influenced by. I noticed one of the elements in your works is like art historical images, and I'm curious to hear more about that.
Well, I liked actually. I love I love to experiment and to explore different visual tools in digital. Actually, this series, it was something very casual, almost very casual. I was doing in open processing. That it's a version of processing. It's a software. It's a free software to make images with code, with Java, with Java. Just was doing some class and get involved with all the reference and the code. Just was some really nice exercise to sometimes concentrate my mind in doing one thing and to finish it at the same time. My mind always is like want to do to my things at the same time. Sometimes just get stopped and get bored and never finish. But in this process, I felt like I could change the formats how much I wanted, how the code can convert, play with the images in more organic way. It's another kind of organism, the kind of light, even in digital algorithms. Yeah, it's a different point of view to relate maybe with some immaterial matter, but it's something that we accept as visible, as true, because it's making visible. Well, this is something I like about the digital, because it don't have to take a form in the physical space. It has their own form, their own space, and with NFT, I like also that has their own ecosystem. Sometimes when I was in other spaces in digital, like in this open processing, to connect this digital world with the physical world, it sometimes becomes a kind of clash, because it don't get to the mass public, or always there is problems in the shooting, because you need some people specialized to project that in some screen, or just to project in one space. Displayed in that moment in virtual environments was really hard. In this work, the Web3, all the things that we are building, it's feeling much more free, because I can be a little more independent in those items and can share it in the work in the form that is completely digital and immaterial. I studied visual arts, always part of some pieces I work with image reference from the history of art, because sometimes as the history is told to us in some books depends too much on the context in which that history was settled. So how it was touched in the schools, it's supposed to be a kind of truth, one you reach and see more reference and go behind the images from the story and connect other stuff outside of their world. You like that these truths are just part of histories that are framed, disconnected in time, traveling, but organizing for some specific point of view for other reasons, like power or expansion of Occident cultures, things like that. So I like to take those references a little bit, display them on some pieces, like a kind of abstract painting or dislocation. Like, yeah, right now we are coexisting with all this, with those frames, fragments of history, with those old fragments of preference, and yeah, it's just that it's just our histories that's just influence our point of view. And it's good also to make a look again on them and experiment a little bit of what they mean or how they can be.
Yeah, it's great hearing just like your sort of referencing of art history, and this makes me think about Igor. You seem to be pulling from a lot of different moments in art history, and it's interesting to hear you say that you don't feel like, outside of NFTs, you're a real artist, because your work seems to expand so many different mediums. So, for example, I notice you're doing digital painting and 3D art, and some of your works you sort of describe as visual poems. And I guess I'm curious to hear about your references and also how that shows up in your artworks. And to bring it back to a conversation about Manifold, how you're utilizing attributes to sort of distinguish between your different artworks.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe you are one from a lot of people who realize that I'm swinging a lot on art, because basically like I told before, I never got any formal art education. I don't know the art technique. I don't know the art concept and whatever. I just do what I want to do. I just create what I want to create. And but I love visiting like the museum and maybe browsing for some artists that I like. Maybe if you realize in my expressionism art, Basquiat is, yes, it's influenced me a lot. Also maybe Gustav Klimt and maybe Picasso. And What's behind my art. I don't know. I'm not good at describing things. And if you say about the money, if you talk about the manifold, I think it's a cool things. It helps artists easier to have their own smart contract. That I also realize collectors can give more trust to them if they have like a own smart contract. And the good things on manifolds also, they have the features of a dynamic NFT. If you know it, the dynamic NFTs means like it gives you the flexibility if in case it's the best of my experience. uh, I ever create a collection that actually now the collection on the default that we have in the foundation with my experimental art. Actually, it was not works. Only when collecting it, and because of the dynamic of NFT, I can switch it easily. Means like it's not about trial and error. It's more about uh, you know which one is good for you in presenting your art, something like that. So manifold is cool, and cool also foundation have a good relationship and cooperate with manifold. Thank
Yeah.
you, foundation.
Yeah, I think the idea is like, when you create artworks, like they should show up on your foundation profile regardless of where you minted them. Rich, I had a question for you because you have deployed many manifold smart contracts, and I guess I wanted to hear uh, just your thoughts about why you've decided to go that route and how you're utilizing their creator tools.
Yeah, of course. So I feel like I've been using Manifold quite a while, but it's probably only been a couple of months actually. But yeah, the idea of just being able to hold my own contracts and have ownership of that, and then be able to mint onto them. Because I mean, you can probably tell from my profile, I use contracts as categories and ways of creating pools for little collections and different pieces of work in different styles. So yeah, I use it very much as an organizational tool. But then yeah, just having that ability to have my pieces minted, I hold the contract, so I know nothing's going to happen with the artwork or the NFT. And then yeah, having the ability for it to be on multiple platforms, as many people can see it and view it as the one. And then yeah, I'm in control of being able where I want to list it. So I recently listed a painting on Foundation, and just having that option and that flexibility, and yeah, I just think it's a really powerful thing to have.
Yeah, I think that's something that people don't realize is kind of like a function of Web3 is like your things can go with you wherever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it was like interesting to hear you sort of talking about that. I think when you noticed that like the projects you had created using Manifold were like propagating, I think you had called that out specifically about like artist ownership.
Mm.
Um, do you have more thoughts that you want to share about that?
I mean, yeah, I'll be honest, I think it's key. I think artists should hold the contracts for their work. It's the way to secure it, it's the way to make sure we all know exactly where our art is and what's happening with it. I mean, I still have conversations with artists now who don't fully understand or comprehend why contract ownership's important. And it's
Hmm.
I've also done a couple of workshops recently with some real world artists who've never heard of NFTs. I've done a couple of like introductory to NFT things. And yeah, even explaining to them in a simple analogy, it's like why contract ownership's important. It's something like, imagine if you were doing a painting but you didn't own the canvas. It's like the work's yours, but you don't actually have ownership of the material it's on. And yeah, it just kind of boggles my mind that more people wouldn't be aligned with that or be more aware of it.
Totally. Yeah, that's something that we think a lot about. So I love hearing you talk about that because it just makes me feel like people are understanding.